So today what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the Star Spectra Lab. Now the idea with this lab is that we are going to try to figure out what elements are present in a star based on the star's spectral analysis. So the idea is we took light that came from a sun and we sent it through a diffraction grating or a spectrograph of some sort, and we were able to get these individual wavelengths of color. And based on that, we're going to try to predict what elements are present. So let's talk about how to do that. So when we look at this in the lab, what we do is there's a YouTube video to try to help you out here. We take a gas discharge tube. So that is a tube, it has a certain type of gas in it. And what we do is we excite that gas. That causes the electrons to jump to a higher level. They don't want to stay there, they drop down. And as they drop down, they produce certain frequencies of light, which represent certain energies. Now, if we had light from the sun, or what we call white light, that's going to be this top example where, so here we have a white light source or the sun, and we send that light through a really tiny little slit. We send that through a prism or a type of diffraction grating, and out the other side comes all the colors of the rainbow. Kind of pretty, isn't it? That's for like the little prisms you put up in your windows. That's what they do with that one. But we're not necessarily going to be looking at white light or light from our sun. What we're going to be doing is we're going to look at light that is produced by different elements. So the bottom, this is called a line emission spectrum, line emission. So here in this tube, we have hydrogen gas. We excite it. As the electrons fall back down, it's going to produce light. We take that light, send it through a slit, because again, we just want a small amount, send that through a prism. So that's going to take, and it's going to separate the different wavelengths. And lo and behold, we only got a couple of different lines. We get a couple purples, a teal, a red, but all the others are missing. Now, what Bohr did is he was able to figure out why we get each of those colors, the energy that's involved with each of those individual lines. And what we found is anytime we have hydrogen in anything, these lines will be present. Now, if there's more elements, they might have more lines, but if anything has hydrogen, it always has these lines. So we looked at hydrogen spectra on the last slide, but if you have any other element, it has its own unique spectra. So each element has different lines that are characteristic of that. Now, what I've done over here on the left, there's a pretty little color picture, and it shows some of the different ones. We have sodium in there. We have mercury, lithium, and hydrogen. At the very top, this is called the solar spectrum, so it's showing a bunch of different areas. It is doing an absorption one. Don't worry about that top one. Now, the other thing to note on the bottom, the hydrogen, on this one, they actually have everything flipped from the last slide. They'll do that. It's crazy, I know. Now, over on the right, we have the second page of your worksheet. And what this does is it says the spectra of 7 elements. So what someone has done is taken the spectra that we saw that were in color, and they made them into black and white, where all they're doing is indicating where each of those lines are. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take that's known, that we know that the different elements have a spectra that looks like this, and we're going to try to figure out some unknowns. So this is the page with the unknowns. So this one is we are taking this theoretical data from 5 different stars. So they took the light that was produced by a star, they did a spectral analysis of it, and they said, oh look, here's all the lines that they have. Now, what we'll notice is that some, such as star 2 and star 3, have a lot more lines than, say, star 4. That can tell us a lot of different things. If we go back and we think about, well, where these different things come from. So here's your kind of related lesson really quick. So all stars have the same energy source. They have fusion reactions inside the inner parts of that star. So if you remember, fusion reactions are where two small elements, we're going to start with two small hydrogens, and they're going to fuse together to make helium. It's a radioactive process. It's that nuclear chemistry stuff. We're actually changing one element to something else, which is just amazing. And when that happens, it releases a huge amount of energy. So stars aren't burning. Burning requires oxygen. It's actually these fusion reactions. Now, after a certain amount of time, they're going to build up enough of that hydrogen going into helium that it's going to start making some different elements. And the longer that star's been around, the more different types of elements that it would have. So what our job is we're going to try to figure out what elements are in each star. So what I have here, this is the one with the 7 elements, and then I also have the pages with the stars. What I'm going to do, the one that shows the elements, I'm going to look at iron. So I'm actually going to fold this piece of paper down to the top of iron. Okay, so there's iron, and I folded it right at the top. And we can see that iron has several characteristic lines. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up my other page. I'm going to look at star 1, and I am going to match up the spectra. I want to match up the spectra. And what I'm trying to do is to see if this star has all of the lines that are characteristic due to iron. And it doesn't. It's missing the very first line. Doesn't have it, it's not there. So what that tells me is that star 1 does not have iron. Star 1 does not have iron. So then I'm going to go down to star 2, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. Now, yeah, star 2 has a lot more lines. That's fine. I'm just seeing if it has iron's lines. And when I do this one, it looks like it does. So get that one in closer to you so you can see it. Now, the other thing to note is that it has this spot where it has 3 lines that are really close to one another. And then if we look at the star has a big heavy line that includes or encompasses 2 of iron's lines. That's fine. That's fine. Now, the other thing to note is that these are just printouts, so please use your best judgment. If they are barely off, that's fine. If they're significantly off, it's not going to be in there. So you are going to do each of the elements and each of the stars, and you record that data on this little table, and then there are a few post-lab questions for you to answer. So yeah, enjoy. If you have any questions, just let me know. And that is the SAR Spectra Lab.